Hey, do you have an upcoming interview? If so, follow these tips before, during, and after your interview to be sure that you nail it. I'm going to give you a few tips to follow prior to your interview. Tip number 1, you really always want to research the company and know the position that you're applying for. If you can find some type of project that the company has done in the past and research it more, that will look really good for you to bring up. And it also helps with questions during your interview too. Don't you hate getting lost on the way to places? I know I sure do. So what I'm thinking for tip number 2 is that you really need to know where you're going to be going to do your interview. Before you go, always map out the route that you want to take the day before, or even a couple days in advance, and maybe even drive that route so that you familiarize yourself with things like construction or school zones or traffic or anything like that so that you're not late. Take at least 2 copies of your resume to your interview, even if you've already sent one to somebody with the company. Make sure that the copy that you hand over to the individual that's going to be interviewing you is printed on heavyweight resume paper. That way it doesn't look like you just threw something together and that you're really interested in the job that you're applying for.
You've done all the work you can for before the interview. Now here's some tips for the day of. Be sure to arrive 15 minutes prior to your scheduled time. You never know what's going to happen with traffic, and you want to show your interview you're going to be on time if they hire you. When your interviewer asks you a question regarding your skill set, give them an example of how you use those specific skills. This will allow them to see how you'll work within their company. Every interviewer is going to ask if you have questions at the end of the interview. Never say you don't. Always ask 2 to 3 questions for the interviewer at the end, such as company vision or career development. Avoid questions about compensation. That can be worked out later. Ask for a business card before you leave and ask when you can expect to hear from the company regarding the position. This will help you create a timeline for the next steps.
Okay, now that we've talked about what to do in your interviews, let's talk about what to do afterward. After your interview, send a thank you email to the person that you interviewed with. Use some specific examples about what you talked about in your conversation. 2 days later, you should send a follow-up email, thanking them again for their time, as well as asking a couple new questions that might not have been covered in the interview. This will show that you're passionate about working with them and that you're excited to get to know more. And most importantly, throughout this entire process, be yourself. Employers want to know the real you so that they can make sure that you're the perfect fit for them, as well as they're a perfect fit for you.